with this course. All right, so lesson 4, creating your personal religion. Today we're talking about the 7 primary agencies of personal religion. All right, so the 7 agencies of personal religion. Number 1 is sincerity, 2, prayer, 3, worship, 4, study, 5, cooperation, 6, fellowship, 7, completion. I have been working on these or been receiving these agencies since 2015. So 2015 was the first time I saw them. I first called them the 7 pursuits of personal religion. Then I called them the 7 loyalties. And this week I was corrected in a very abrupt way, just out of nowhere. As I was writing, I felt overwhelmingly this word, so to say, correction. This word is agency. So that's why I use that strike through. And I'm sure over time, these may become more clarified, or different words may be used for these agencies. So these are what I call the primary agencies of personal religion. I'm sure there are other agencies that you will need to use or put in place, but right now these are going to be the ones that we're going to be working through on this course, this edition. All right, so my definition of agencies are agencies of personal religion are actions taken to adjust one's ways of living and one's technique of thinking in alignment with the supreme reality and higher values. All right. It uses the power of intention and action combined. And what that looks like is a combination of knowing, being, and doing. It's also the combination of just doing to be, and then you know. And it's also the combination of being, knowing, and doing. So a lot of times in our new age, new thought world, we put a lot of focus on being, which we should. The primary focus of all lifestyles, of all spiritual realities, should be focused on being. It's all about who you're being, not so much what you're doing. But the reality, the actual reality is they work in conjunction with each other. Sometimes you do something and then you become it, and then you know it. Okay? Sometimes there is a degree of faking it till you make it. But even though we may use that term, fake it till you make it, it's not so much that you're faking it, but let's say, for example, our friend Elle, she has the capacity to be a minister of spiritual guidance to other people. She may have in her life never actually acted on that, but it's in her. But if we put her in the context where she has to just do it, and she may feel like, I don't know, I'm just going to fake it. But because it's latent in her, she's not truly faking it. To her mind, she may think she's faking it, but what she's doing, she's activating it by doing it. It was there latent in her. And then by doing it, she realized, oh my gosh, I really can be used to facilitate enlightenment in another. I didn't know that. And now she can sense and she can truly actualize being a spiritual facilitator of enlightenment. And that being is then going to lead to the knowing of who she is. When someone asks her later in life, who are you? She'll know, I am here. I am a person who brings forth spiritual enlightenment. But it may come through the form of doing it first. All right. Does that all make sense to you all? All right. And again, it is primarily you do want to stay in your being. And sometimes it's about knowing, and then you be, and then you do. But these agencies, combining those 3 variations, they use the power of your intention and your action to bring into your lifestyle into alignment, and your thinking in alignment with your supreme reality and your supreme values. Okay, so it's again the definition of agency of personal religions are actions taken to adjust one's ways of living and one's technique of thinking in alignment with the supreme reality and higher values. All right. Before we move on, is everyone grasping what we mean by the agencies of personal religion? And would anybody be so willing to share a rephrase of that definition that I gave, how they may have grasped it in a more simplistic wording for understanding? Anybody want to take an aim for it, a shot for it? Leslie, go ahead.
No. Only because I'm still wrapping like I feel like I'm getting it, but it's still kind of, I was like, I think I was
Got
sold loyalties, so I don't.
it. Okay. Yeah. And I was too. I have been on loyalties forever. And we can call these loyalties, but it's more so if we had to integrate it, these agencies help you put they are a container and a platform for you to apply your loyalties, for you to work out your loyalties.
They're like tactics. I mean, are they the
Tactics,
actions?
they tactic, their actions. And we'll maybe it'll be more clear as we go on. So let's move on to the first agency, and that is sincerity. All right, and this is truth telling. Okay, so my definition of sincerity is the act of being honest and truthful to oneself and other selves in such a way that oneself and others who need to know, there's an emphasis on who need to know, have the full opportunity to arrive at the most appropriate conclusion of your intentions, thoughts, and ways of behaving towards them. And missing on here is yourself. Okay. So sincerity is truth telling in general, but it's truth telling in such a way that you're allowing other people and yourself to come to the real appropriate conclusion of your intentions, your thoughts, and action. And other people who need to know, whether it is your intimate partners, your intimate companions, your best mates, your family, people who are significant to you in your life or work or role. And there are conclusions, appropriate conclusions that they need to know about you. In our society, in our world, there is a tendency to evade honest and appropriate truth telling. There is this sense of there's this agreed thought that people don't need to know your business. Okay, it's just this agreed acceptance, and there's some truth in that. There is, you do have to be safe, and you do have to be discerning on who knows what about you. But there is a tendency, for no reason sometimes, to manipulate our actions and our stories to those people who need to be in the know. And sometimes there is like a sense of victory that we feel when we have evaded people and we've given them a false impression of why we did something, why we said something, or why we're doing whatever we're doing. It's like we may be communicating with a loved one or a family member, and we're hearing something, and in our mind we know that they are off, right? They're off with what they have come to the conclusion about us. And there's a sense sometimes of a satisfaction of knowing they have no idea what I really was doing or thinking, okay? So that's the very opposite of being sincere. And there are times in your life where you first have to be sincere with yourself. And so the image that I have here, there's this elephant in this lady's living room that is trying to blend in with her life, right? So we all heard of the elephant in the room. And this lack of sincerity and this tendency and natural selfish egoic tendency to be insincere in our dealings with ourselves and other people, it interrupts our sense of being in alignment with higher values and in the spirit, because this is how it plays out. When you begin to become insincere and start withholding information that allow people to come to the most appropriate conclusion, you start making choices to protect that lie. All right. Have you ever told a lie, or have you ever been withheld information? For example, you don't want one friend to know that you're hanging out with another friend. So when that friend asks what you're doing, you make up some story that can kind of deceive them and make them think that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. But then that leads to all types of choices that lead you further and further from trusting your intuition. Because then when they say, well, when you and that friend say, okay, where are we going to eat at? Or your intuition may say, well, you need something healthy, so go eat here. But then he's like, oh, we can't go there because I told so-and-so we wouldn't be on that side of town and we may run into them. And now you're like, okay, well, we can't go. What are we going to eat? Well, let's do this because of this. And now you've got to you keep making one little mistake and you keep redirecting one choice to the point where you cannot have a willingness to listen to your spirit, listen to your intuition. And instead, you've got to dictate all of your actions, all of your movements to protect that lie and to keep those individuals in the illusion of the facade that you're creating. Okay? You may do it on social media. You know, I can't post that. I got to post this. Can't say that because then it's going to let this person know this or this person may see that. And it interrupts it interrupts your channel. It interrupts your flow of being used in a way where you can be in full cooperation. And it's going to interrupt your prayer life, which is one of the chief agencies of personal religion. Because in your prayer life, you have to be very honest in your communication with your higher power. And so this is why truth telling is always one of the first and primary basis of establishing spiritual development. When people are coming to Jesus, it's always some form of confession, right? Where they got to tell some truth. And that truth happens on different levels, all right? That first truth is telling the truth to yourself about yourself. You got to come to the problem. Think about Alcohol Anonymous. The first truth is, I have a problem, okay? And that is the case in every area of life. The second truth is telling yourself the truth about other people. You may have to tell yourself, you know what? My child is spoiled. I have really spoiled my child and made a ruin of their life, okay? And then other choices, truth telling, you may have to be telling the truth to other people about themselves. And these are all along the lines of what they need to know. And we all know those moments when people need to know truths that we sit here and we do choose for whatever reason not to tell them, right? Again, it's a sense, well, if I tell them now, then they're going to say, well, why didn't you tell me that 4 weeks ago? And then it's going to reveal another level of insincerity. So you see how this insincerity works in keeping us blocked and preventing us from really living in alignment with our higher values and truth and being led by them. And it interrupts the loyalty to your truth and your values. Does that all make sense to everyone? All right. All right. I think I have a question really quickly. All right. So someone is definitely saying agree with that. All right. So feel free to interrupt me and ask questions and get clarity. And the religious life, your personal religious life, is the evolution of you becoming more and more and more and more sincere. All right. And it gets to a point in your later years, as we all know, the typical archetypical older person or family, they are known for being highly sincere and truthful. Okay. It's almost like something about that age, they just can't even help it anymore. It's just don't even ask them. If you don't want to know the truth, you better not even ask. All right. But your religious life is also going to be a part of that. If you want to be effective and if you want to remain loyal to your values and your supreme truths, the first requirement is sincerity, because there is nothing interrupts your loyalty, nothing interrupts your devotion to your supreme values and your higher truths like insincerity. All right. Elle, you have something to say?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I don't really have a question, but I've been living in the space of not really being truthful or having sincerity with those that really do bother me. But I practiced this very thing very recently with a first cousin of mine. And I think what I've learned most from it was that I've held back from being really sincere with people because I'm fearful of their reaction. Mm-hmm. Even though I know that the reaction is not going to be a positive one. So I just kind of avoid it. Mm-hmm. And so recently I practiced that with a cousin and I unfriended her on Facebook and had the opportunity to explain why. Mm-hmm. And oh my goodness, it just did way more than I felt like it would have if I just continued to be the way that I was.
In positive ways?
With her. Say that again?
In positive ways it did more?
No, negatively.
Okay.
Very much so. So much so that we don't talk anymore, which is fine because I've come to the realization that it's just better that way. But I've avoided that for years because I knew what the reaction was going to be on their end, and I was fearful. So I just kind of want to get to a place where I can be sincere with the ones that are around me and not fear to be sincere in that way, if that makes sense.
Yes. And again, we learn the balance over time. We learn what that key word here, need to know, those who need to know, and to come to the most appropriate conclusion that they need to know. We learn what that looks like over time, because it goes from at first we think it is just letting a person know, I don't like your glasses. Okay, that's not really, that is using your opinion as a weapon, okay? So we learn how to go from that extreme to really letting the person know, hey, I was feeling very unheard, very unappreciated, and very attacked by your comment about those homeless people that you made in your Facebook post. And I unfriended you, okay? Blase, versus, we understand that, but I think we get that, but it is a learning. It is a lesson of learning of what sincerity looks like. Because I think we go to all extremes. Okay. I had an individual one time share with me some truths that I thought, I mean, they came for me. They came for me so hard. And then they say, well, I was learning how to just be real and authentic. But sometimes our sincerity is a sense of we're trying to do damage in the form of truth telling. That's not what sincerity is. Sincerity is allowing a person to come to the most appropriate conclusion that they need to know, what they need to know to arrive at the most appropriate conclusion. And it's an ongoing journey. And it's just that, again, the purpose of it is to help us stay aligned and loyal to our values, because nothing divorces you or interferes and intercepts your loyalty than insincerity, as I gave an analogy for. Let me look and see the question. All right, someone have a comment? T'Challa, please. T'Challa Jackson, you can speak up to share your comment. T'Challa? Okay. They said they had a comment, but they're not speaking up. Nope, we cannot hear you, T'Challa. I think you were having mic. Okay. All right, we can't hear them. All right, so any more comments, questions about sincerity before we move on? There's a good passage from Ralph Waldo Emerson. I was just looking for it since I'm here in my library about sincerity with other people. I don't know where that book is. But anyway, there's a passage from Ralph Waldo Emerson, and he says how important it is. Sometimes you may have to part ways, especially if it requires you to continue to engage in hypocritical ways. It's best for you to cling to your truth with your companions and the people to live with theirs. But it's a sense of saying, hey, I'm gonna be who I am gonna be. I am going to accept what I'm gonna accept. I would prefer you accept it with me, but if you can't, I will not engage in hypocritical things. We can part ways. And sometimes it's better to part ways than to have to dwell in lies and hypocrisy with people. Because once again, it's going to interfere with your loyalty to your values and your truths. And that is the key root of that's the key purpose of being sincere. All right?
Hey, Adam.
Yes.
Good morning. I got a quick question. What do you do with people that you feel like aren't being sincere with you? Or does that matter?
It really isn't. I don't think it matters all that much as your sincerity tells them, hey, I respect you and I respect blah, blah, but there is something in me that makes me feel like you're not being sincere with me. That's
right.
And that's as much as you can do. That's as much as you can do.
Okay, because you know how sometimes, like, you know, you focus on the positive part to a person versus the negative, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of keeps you in that relationship or friendship, but you know that they're just not being sincere. And then sometimes it gets on your nerves or it bothers you, and then sometimes it doesn't. You just kind of get not immune. Is it immune to it? You just kind of like get a little numb to it.
Well,
I
it
was just
starts
kind of
with
curious about.
I would apply this 3 levels of truth telling there. You got to tell your truth to yourself about why you continue to interact with that person. So you got to be sincere with yourself of why are you engaging that person. You got to be truthful with yourself. Tell your truth about this person. Okay. Meaning you got to say, you know what? So-and-so really, really, really is using me. So-and-so really, really is not valuing me. So-and-so really is not in alignment with who I am. And then you may need to tell the truth to that person and say, hey, I just think we're not for the same things. Or I just don't think that I'm valued in the same way that I want to be valued, whatever. Or you may just need to once you tell yourself the truth, and you can just allow, okay, you know what? So-and-so isn't, and I'm not. As long as you are being sincere and you know, okay, I know that this person isn't good for me, or I know this person, blah, blah, blah. And that may be just the level of truth that you need to know, that you need to tell yourself. Does that make sense or help out in any way of your question?
Yeah, it does. It does. I just kind of, I don't know. I just kind of get a little bit. How can I say this? You know, there's so many different things, and you know, most of the time, I want to be like a good example to this person, and me be sincere. You know what I'm saying? As part of my service, that maybe she can like know that it's okay to be sincere. You know,
Yeah,
like.
yeah, and then sometimes that is the case, and sometimes it's so deeply within a person's pathological, just there to just lie at enemies necessary, or not lie, but just be insincere, that there may nothing you can do, and you may just have to tell yourself the truth. I am dealing with a person who is just not sincere. But sincerity, I'm glad you bring this up.
Right. And see, I
Sincerity
don't want that to
starts
like,
with yourself, and you telling the truth to yourself
and I don't
about.
want like that to like jump on me. Yeah. Okay. And I kind of like don't want that energy. Like, I don't want to start like, start doing that because I hang around with the person. Right.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. So I have told myself the truth about that person. But thank you.
Nicole, you brought up a good point, and then we're going to move on. You have made a good point. Being around insincere people, it can lead you to become insincere. I remember one time I was complaining about a family member to another person. I said, and they just sitting there like nothing's wrong. And then the person said, and you joined them by being there a whole hour and also pretending like nothing was wrong. And I was like, oops, I sure didn't I? And so sometimes insincerity does have a contagious impact where you're like, oh, well, we'll all be insincere together. All right. Well, I hope y'all understand the value in being sincere and how again, the basis of sincerity as an agency of personal religion is, again, it interferes with your loyalties to your supreme values and truths. Someone asked a question, is there a difference between sincerity and authenticity? Authenticity is the state of being sincere or being in your truth, who you are, and sincerity is the action. That's how I see the difference. Okay? All right. So let's go to the next agency. Oh, and by the way, you all, we're going to, so in these next few weeks, we will spend more time developing and talking about sincerity. Okay, so I forgot to stress that. Each week, for the next few weeks, we're going to spend time talking about developing each one. So if you have some questions now about each one, write them down as they come up. So next week will be devoted towards sincerity and truth telling. I'll do some exercises on truth telling. I will be able to go more into details about like Ralph Waldo Emerson. He has a whole essay dedicated to truth telling and the importance of truth telling. And we'll look at different lessons from different religions about truth telling. So each week we're going to, for the next coming weeks, right now, I'm being led to focus on each one. We may combine one or two together, but I know for sure we're going to be focusing on each one. Okay. All right. Prayer. All right. Prayer. Today is just a review of each of them, like an overview or survey. Prayer is contact or communication with the supreme reality. Okay. It is evolved from the request for material blessings. All right. So the first prayers and most of our first prayers and most of our prayers are just requests for blessings, material blessings, or like it's almost like a form of a wish. All right, or a list of our desires for Christmas to Santa Claus or our great being in the sky. But as we progress and we evolve, true prayer is a request, is the seeking of spiritual revelation and spiritual insights as the solutions to the problems of living. True prayer, as it evolves up, once you get to the point where you realize you really, really don't, the universe is taking care of you, and you really get, I'm taken care of. I don't have to let my anxiousness begin to plead and make special bargain with God. God, if you do this, I'll do that. That's a very low evolutionary step of prayer. As you evolve, our prayer is really more so two things. It's a request for spiritual insights and revelation. It's asking God to help you understand what is it that you need to know about this situation or this problem that's going on in your life. What is the higher truth? What is the higher value? It's asking to be shown what is the supreme reality in regards to these situations or these problems on our daily living. And it's also a way for you to declare your loyalty to spiritual values. I should have wrote this on here, but true prayer evolves into affirmations. True prayer, as it evolves in the highest form, is affirmations of your loyalties to your spiritual values, your declarations. It's the readjustment of your attitude to spiritual insights and values. And it is a request for values. It's asking to be shown, what do I need to do? What do I need to think? What do I need to know? What is the guiding principle that I need to know? That's what you're asking for. You're seeking, and you're making a request to be shown. So when we work on prayer, we're going to do a worksheet on prayer. I will email that out to y'all, so make sure you get your emails. But we're going to be asking, it's a template that really shows us how to ask and to affirm what it is we need to affirm every day. All right? Asking, what do I need to know about my interaction with this coworker? What do I need to know? How can I guide my behavior appropriately with this insincere person? What is the thought and the attitude I should have about my incooperating spouse? What do I need to know about this relationship that I'm going on? So a true prayer is getting that you're seeking insight, you're seeking higher insight and values from the supreme world to be applied to different problems and situations in your life. Because as you evolve, you come to this understanding that your needs are being met. That's why Jesus, when he taught in the Christian religion, he told them, your Father already knows what you need. Your blessings and stuff, your material blessings are taken care of, but these are more so asking for wisdom, asking for insight. And how many times have you had a problem and you're like, I really don't know what to do in this situation? And next thing you know, the solution comes through the form of a reading you have, a book, you're reading something, you're scrolling through the internet, and you're like, oh my God, I just was asking, what do I need to know? That is the information I need. That's the insight I need. Oh my God, it just answers my question, right? We've all had those experiences. And then that insight or that revelation, we're able to appropriate it into our problem, into our situation with difficult person here, or this situation with your child, or this situation with that insincere person. But true prayer is also it's just an affirmation of, this is what I believe. I know that I'm taken care of. Therefore, I'm going to be grateful today. I'm in gratitude because I know that I am an abundant being, and I'm an abundant being, and I have access to all that I need within me. And that prayer is you daily making that communication, contacting that reality in that twofold way. We'll go into a lot more detail of it, but sincerity and prayer, those two are the top chief agencies of personal religion. Okay, no matter, it's the other ones are important, but the other ones all play out under sincerity and prayer. And sincerity is first because it's your prayer life is going to be highly interrupted if you aren't practicing sincerity with yourself and other people. Okay, your prayer life is enhanced and improved with your level of sincerity. All right. All right. Worship meditation. All right. So there's a difference. A lot of times we use prayer and meditation the same, but worship and meditation is like it's a conscious, silent concentration on a higher reality. You're not seeking to know anything. You're not requesting anything. You're not bringing your problems. You're not declaring anything. It's not any conversation happening. Worship and meditation is concentration on your truth and your values. To me, it is like putting together a puzzle piece. All right. When you work on a puzzle, you work in quiet and you have a picture of the master image. And then you use that master image, and in silence, you just try to place that picture together. Okay. So get the image of a person working on a puzzle piece. They have their master image in front of them, and they're taking those puzzles and they're just doing it in a very quiet, silent, concentrated way. That's what worship is. Worship is concentrating on your higher values, the supreme reality, the supreme truths that you have got, that you've learned, that you've heard. And you're just in concentrated, contemplative reality, observing your thoughts, observing your world, observing whatever comes into your imagination in a very quiet way. And you're looking at it and you're seeing, this is how that lined up. Oh, this is what that means with this. And I put on here an example is hypnotherapy. You worship when you go to movies, right? Music, persuasive speakers, because basically you're listening to a reality that's being projected at you. So when you sit in a movie theater for 2.5 hours, your mind is in a quiet concentration on this image that has been projected to you. And that's why so many times you leave a movie theater and you are ready, like if you watch Black Panther and you watch that movie and you're in that movie, you're ready to, you feel like you are a citizen of Wakanda and you are ready to take on whatever fighting, whatever evil in the world, right? You know, how many people had a worship experience watching Black Panther? I did, right? That I was like high, I just knew like, yes, that is the world that I live in. I felt, all of a sudden I felt this sense of royalty, of this sense of prideness of who I am and ready to just go on and take on the world and feel like what, you know? People do it with horror movies. Unfortunately, a horrible example of worship and concentration. I don't know if anyone saw the headline news about the 2 middle school students in Florida who were arrested with the intention of stabbing their classmates in the bathroom and drinking their blood. It's a very horrific story. But these girls, 2 girls, have binged watched Halloween movies last weekend. They had a sleepover, and for 3 days, they watched nothing but horror movies. And after they watched those movies, they got the idea that they should kill some classmates. So they basically were hiding out in the bathroom of a middle school, and they had a butcher knife that one of them had stole from their home, and they were going to cut up smaller classmates and drink their blood. And then they were going to commit suicide themselves. And they basically, the report revealed that they had wrote journals and there was texts that they have given each other And they had basically spent Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday watching nothing but horror, demonic-based movies. Movies that emphasize or kind of glorified demonic lifestyles unintentionally. And in a very hypnotic kind of way, it just put hypnotic suggestions in them that they acted on Monday morning. But they were caught and apprehended. So that is a sad way of worship. Sometimes if you ever go to a workshop or an empowerment conference, and you have these beautiful, persuasive oratory speakers, and they're just painting the picture of the divine realities of your power, of how you can manifest realities and how you can be a millionaire. And you listen to them for hours and hours, and you are convinced that your next week, your life is forever going to be changed. You just know now, I am about to change the world for sure. I will be a millionaire in 5 years. And you taking in all this information, just sitting there in that gaze, and it just plays into your soul, it plays into your cells, and it plays into your whole being. And you're basically hypnotized by that reality that they painted to you. They paint to you a higher reality, a higher idea, and you're ready to go take on the world. So what worship and meditation is, it is aligning, it is concentrating and allowing yourself to basically be hypnotized by your truth and by your values. So this is why every morning you don't want to really leave your house without painting a beautiful picture of your day based upon what you feel like is a picture of you walking through your day in an alignment with your higher values and principles, okay? Visualizing every interaction, concentration, working on it, or meditating on just the higher truths and values, whatever they look like for you. But you want to basically hypnotize yourself in that. You want to go to bed in a state of worship. You may want to take your lunch break. Worship is so important and primary to your life, but worship is interrupted as well by the lack of being insincere. Worship is also interrupted by not having received any wisdom. Okay, so you pray, ask for revelation, you pray, ask for higher truth and values, and then you worship and meditate on what was shown and given to you. Because if you haven't been shown any higher truths, if you haven't been shown the way to interact with that coworker, with that spouse, with that rebellious child, if you haven't been shown what to do, you don't know how to meditate and worship and concentrate on it. All right, I hope this all makes sense to you all. Okay, anybody got any questions, want to add anything, any comments about worship and meditation?
I had a quick thing, so my understanding with prayer and worship, which I think you're right on point. I've never thought about it like this in depth, but prayer, it's a two-way communication. Prayer is you're speaking to, the divine, but your worship or your meditation is your opportunity to listen, however that comes about. And I see how it's important to be sincere first, so that you make sure you're not listening to lower, vibrations and like, oh, that's the truth. You know what I mean? Although if that's where your vibes are, that is your truth. But yeah, so.
Yeah, and also sincerity will interrupt. Being insincere will interrupt how you really asking for true solutions. Because one, you'll be in denial of your real problems. You'll be in denial of what's really the issue. But the more you're sincere, one of the first things you're going to realize is, I got a problem with this person. I got a problem in my household. I have a problem in my relationships. The more you're being insincere, the more you're going to stay in denial. And then when it goes to prayer, you're not going to really be asking prayers for the true solutions to your problems, because you're not going to be aware of what your problems are. Okay? Wow, we are really running late today. Study. So study is the next agency, all right? And I got some long definitions here, but my definition of study is repetitious and active, in-depth learning and sensitization. It's a new word for us today. And sensitization of higher meanings and values, culminating in the creation of ideals and true appreciation for truth and higher values. Okay? So it is important for us to study. Again, revelation is ongoing. Revelation is ongoing. We're always evolving and learning new insights, new values, correcting values, learning more values as we put more into application. Everything gets corrected and corrected. I started with the word loyalty, pursuit, through study and insight. I realized, no, the correct word is agency. We're all going to continue to evolve. Study is important. What study does is study gives us a sensitization of higher meanings and values. What that does anybody automatically already know what the word sensitization means, or do they want to take a guess breaking that word down? Has anybody ever heard that word before?
I always hear it in terms of desensitization. Like we're desensitized, but I guess not really just sensitized.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you an example of sensitization from my life that really is that I laugh about. It's interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna put it as how sensitizations is. So about 7-8 years ago, I got really heavily involved and active in changing my diet based upon suggestions from the Edgar Casey health model, right? Whether it's proven by actual scientists or doctors, it just resonated with me, okay? His plan of health, his plan of eating mono meals, not having your food combined, having fruit as your first meal, all these revelations he gave about how humans should eat their diet, his whole health plan, it really resonated with me back in 2007, 2008. Over the years, I put a lot of emphasis on studying and trying to master the Edgar Casey health plan. He has an acronym called CARE. The C stands for circulation, the A is for assimilation, relaxation, elimination. It's a whole diet plan, right, that I spent time studying intensely. Well, what has happened is the sensitization is I am really now grossed out in my body when I see people combine their food. Okay? When I see people eating their fruit in the evening with their cooked meals, I literally feel like I have to look away. All right? And I get into it with a lot of my friends when we're eating, and they're like, quit judging my food, like quit judging my plate. And I'm like, I have to be like, don't comment. Or I'll be like, don't look, like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm watching that person eat that, okay? Now, I don't even know if Edgar Casey stuff is really actually based on real health science, but I have become completely sensitized to that, what I've studied, to the point of it really cringes me when I see people not apply those principles that he expounded upon. And we all have done that in various degrees, okay, right? I know people who learn so much about different health modalities or how women should do their hair, and then when they see somebody doing it opposite, it's like, oh my God, I can't even watch that happen before me. All right, it is actions and behaviors we once did ourselves, but once you become sensitized to what you learn, it literally creates an aversion in you. All right, it creates aversions in you. It gives you chills, or it makes you disgust, or it awakens you. All right. So when you do see that person eating, or living a lifestyle of health, or living a lifestyle of whatever your true values are, it inspires you like, yes, that's my homie right there. That person is of the truth right there. And you feel it's in your emotional reaction because you so grasp that the truth, you so grasp and understanding the principles that you've been studying and learning, that it literally has an emotional impact on you. And that is going to give you a sense of navigation through your lives and helps you develop your ideals or what drives you. All right, I think we got some comments to add. Okay, so anybody got anything, comments, questions about study and repetitious learning and sensitization? Does my little example of sensitization make sense to you all? All right. And can you all been able to identify things in your life that you've studied and learned that become to you so truthful to you that it repulses you when you see people not doing it or engaging in it? We all have those examples, right? And it's funny because that sensitization makes us feel that we now know for sure what we know is true. And it may not be, it really may not be. It's just the fact that it's become a part of our emotional reaction now. You know, I know that it's hard for me. I had another experience when I went to a church program that this year, back in August, that my father invited me to. And man, I was hearing some stuff being said. I literally felt like I was getting nauseous, right? Because there's some things that were being spoken to the people. It was a fear, like so much fear was being projected on the people. It literally was making me nauseous. Like, oh my gosh, like I could just see this fear coming out of this person and projecting this primitive fear on this congregation. And I was just like, oh my God, I gotta get out of here. Like, this is making me sick, you know? Now, again, whether or not that's really happened, it's just the fact that when you become so sensitized to what you study, to your truths, it really creates a reaction. And you've probably been at groups or meetings where you're sitting there like, I can't even sit in this. I can't even sit in this BS. And everybody else is just like, and you're looking at them like, this is making me sick to my stomach. I'm sure we had those experiences. Okay. So these studies also leads to our ideals, and I'm going to end today's lesson on ideals. Wow, I can't believe I must have started late. All right, so ideals, those emotions or that sensitization of what you study creates your ideal. And an ideal is a standard by which one lives. An ideal is not a goal. A goal is a what. An ideal is a why. Our ideals check our goals, okay? Our ideals check to see if our goals worthy and in alignment with us. Once you start studying, you get a sensitization. That sensitization creates ideals naturally and spontaneously, right? You begin to have ideals. You don't so much create ideals as much as you discover what you've already got. Right now, we each have ideals when it comes to relationships, when it comes to romance, and it comes to money. You all have it. We all have them already right now, right? I remember a person who had a strong sensitization to not tithing, and I know people who feel like they have to give, but I knew another person who said it bothers me badly that people consistently give so much of their income to these churches and to these causes without question where it is going. And the person was almost to the point of tears when they were telling me that, because they had an ideal about money and responsibility and money as a resource for communities. I know another person who was the same way. I can't believe those people have not given their money to anywhere. It breaks my heart how selfish they are with their giving. Okay. So again, when you sensitize, you create ideals that you become unconscious of. You create ideals that you become unconscious of and you don't know. So these ideals that come from your studying and what you've learned, they are the underlying root of why we're judging people unconsciously all the time. And we automatically think other people may share our same ideals. So we work on the week of ideals. I'm going to be borrowing a lot from Edgar Casey's workbook on ideals. It's really good. Discover your ideals. And these are our whys. There's a very popular book that came out about 4 years ago. It was developed from a TED Talk, Simon Sinek. Anybody read Simon Sinek's Why? Begin with why, start with why. And he talks about the importance of knowing what your why is for your success. And basically, ideals are our why. Our ideals are our why. We do what we do. They stabilize, they guide us, they help us navigate our world, and they come out of our worship, and they come out of our study. They mostly come from our study, but it's like this, your worship leads to study. Because in your worship, you decide, you know what, I want to know more about this. I want to see more about that. And then in that study creates that sensitization, and that sensitization creates those ideals. And I'm laughing because our ideals get created so unconsciously that we're not even aware of what our ideals are. Most aren't aware. And what causes a lot of guilt and what causes a lot of heartache or embarrassment on ourselves is when we don't live up to the ideals we have for ourselves. You know, whatever they may be. When everybody's like, what's wrong with you? Like, I just can't believe I ate that hamburger. And they're like, it's fine. Like, it was low calorie, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But they don't know the ideals you have around food. So you're like beating yourself up because that ideal is so ingrained in you and you violated it. And then after a while, and when you get a sensitization to ideals, it is very hard to trick yourself otherwise. You try so hard to be like, I'm just not going to care. I'm just not even going to care. Mm-mm. You're going to have to live up to those ideals because it's ingrained. All right. Wow, it is 11 o'clock. It's 11:06. We have some more to go. I didn't realize that we would take so long on these, but it's okay. We have a few weeks left, so we'll stop from there. And next week we'll talk about cooperation or dharma, what that looks like when we fly from that. We'll talk about fellowship, and we'll talk about completion, and we'll focus on those three next week. And actually, it is good to hold on to those because those can be really, I feel like those are going to be a lot of conversational invoking, especially Dharma, fellowship, and completion. But these are agencies that really, really, when you act on these in part of your daily routine, daily life, they serve to work together to enhance your loyalty to your values. And again, all of these together, I want to go back. What they're doing, to go back to the beginning, is they're helping you in the form of knowing, being, doing, being, knowing, and be, knowing, doing. And overall, the power of those create an intention and an action to manifest your supreme reality that exists in the unseen. It helps to manifest it in your actual day-to-day reality. When you are active in these agencies, when you're practicing sincerity, prayer, worship, study, cooperation, fellowship, and completion, I guarantee you, when you are active in these, within 3 to 6 months of being very active in these, your outer reality changes. It changes drastically fast. And it begins a progressive, ever in changing reality. These 7 agencies, like none other, help you really begin to bring into your life, in and through you, your reality that you want to manifest in this world. That supreme truth, those supreme values. And the opposite is true. When you're not being sincere, when you're not involved in a committed prayer life, worship, when you're not committed to true study, when you're not in cooperation and fellowship, the opposite has happened. You're not truly manifesting a different world, a different life. You will be in the same reality that over and over and over again. You will not experience progress. You will not experience the manifestation of your highest truth into your daily living. But those individuals who do, within a few months, a few years, a few decades, they create a whole new reality for themselves. And those who don't, they just continue to manifest the same world. They talk a good talk, and they have a lot of truths, and they have a lot of good understanding, but their outer world is not really reflecting on it. All right. Q&A for today. Yes, Leslie.
Hi, Leslie again. So on the sensitization, because I don't know, I guess I'm just trying to, because I know T'Challa had said something there too. It was like, it said judges. And I was thinking about that too. I was like, well, that sounds like judgment. And, you know, I work so hard on being like non-judgmental and allowing the other to be who they are. But inherently, that's probably like I'm fighting it because the value, I'm sensitized to like a value or an ideal, and it's not matching up. So maybe rather than focusing so much on desensitizing, it's more rather of taking these steps through sincerity, continued study to be sensitized to values that are understanding. Is that?
Yes. Yeah, that's good. That is good. Meaning, for example, if I'm judging my friends, especially when they're eating, but if I have truly studied the importance of being in harmony, of being loving, of being kind, I'm also going to be sensitized to that it will overcome it will overcome my sense of judgment. And it does. And it makes me say, okay, keep your mouth shut and know that they're okay and whatever. And you can be loving, and you don't have to be the bigot who just like, I am not going to sit here. I do not want to be in y'all presence. Y'all eating all that pork, eating all that fatty foods. But you can be like, you know what, for the sake of love, for the sake of fellowship, because I value fellowship and I see the value in it. I see the value of interaction. And I'm going to be more sensitized to knowing it's going to feel very nasty and ugly of me to separate myself because of that prejudice. Like you said, I'm going to feel more like that was very ugly of me, how I acted towards them. And what's going to happen is I can be like, you know what? I don't eat that way, but that's for me. And then after a while, as I study, I'm going to realize God revealed that to me from my diet and my digestive system. I do not have to project that onto my friends and my family and my loved ones. But I also am not going to let them judge me either, and then eat that food with them. And I'm not going to get upset when they judge me and say, you said you don't eat sweets. Why you eating that whole pack of Krispy Kremes?
Well, and that's the hard part, or not the hard part. I know we're going to go more into sincerity, you know, going forward, but that's what I was thinking about when it's like you're giving them the opportunity to arrive at appropriate conclusions, but it's their conclusions. And I think that is usually the issue, you know, when some of us were talking about the fears of like them coming back and projecting that maybe they're not coming from our set of values or they're going to allow, right? So like that whole thing.
Yeah, you're right. That is always that risk of being misunderstood is always there. And that is a part of this journey, you know, of being misunderstood. We will be misunderstood. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, to be great is to be misunderstood. So, there was nobody great on this planet who wasn't misunderstood, no matter who they were. So we will definitely be misunderstood, but we definitely have to be sincere, you know, and that's why, again, you can see that these are agencies that you have to put into practice, because it is so easy to be insincere. It is, and I think it's just part of our human survival technique, being insincere, but sometimes it can be very detrimental when you're trying to manifest realities. When you're trying to manifest a higher reality, when you're trying to bring that fifth dimensional lifestyle into your 3D world. So someone said, Leslie's King T said, Leslie's cool, and I'm sincere when I say that. Amen. All right. Any other questions, answers, or comments about today's discussion? I'm sorry that we went a little bit over. I hope that we're gaining some ground and a new understanding of the importance of these agencies in our lives. Anybody else got anything to share or any comments to say? Oh. Hello? Yeah. All right, who is this speaking? Who?
Me. It's Trey. What's up?
Oh, Trey. Hey.
Yeah.
Did you have something to say?
No, just good job, man. Good job.
All right. Well, you all, again, feel free to if you, we won't be doing prayer next week, but I'll probably still go ahead and email you. I am going to go ahead and email you the prayer worksheet. Hopefully, what tomorrow is, next Sunday, we can finish the other agencies, going over what those other agencies are, and then begin to talk more in depth about sincerity. And then the week after that, we can begin talking about prayer. All right, so it looks like we got an exciting journey ahead. I hope you all are still enthusiastic and excited about the journeys and the Sundays ahead as we go into this. My favorite activity is the development of that personal prayer. I love the development of personal prayer because I love the idea of community prayer. So I'm really excited about developing a personal prayer network sheet. All right. And again, feel free to please consider donating to this cause. If you got any value, any appreciation of today's course, you can Cash at me or PayPal. All right, well, that would be it for today. If there's no other comments or questions, thank you all for sharing your Sunday morning with me. Thank you for receiving this Sunday school lesson, and may it add to our insight. I'm going to close us with a prayer today. All right. Thank you, Central Force, Central Spirit, for bringing us together. Thank you for allowing us to get new insight from these agencies of our personal religion. May we be able to apply these and practice these daily in our lives in a way that we can better comprehend higher realities and bring and manifest what we know is our truth and our higher values into our daily lives as we bring the fifth dimension down into this third world, as we are vessels to bring in light into this world, that we may live lives of joy, happiness, peace, and progress. Amen. So be it. All right, everybody. See y'all next Sunday.
Bye.